my goal is to try and build a completely transparent system that I can use almost anything to talk.
Amazing.
And get back to where I need to be. So I'm literally just using anything that's about, like the Alexa that my mum's got.
Welcome to episode 7 of Tool Use. Tool Use is a weekly conversation about helpful AI tools where we teach you what is possible today by showing you real examples that we put together. We also talk to AI tool makers to share their perspective, experience, and help spread the knowledge. This week, we're taking a step back and we're going to show you how we build AI tools. We're going to talk about our workflows and the tools with the goal of inspiring you to be able to build your own. I'm Mike Bird, talking with Ty Fierro. And this week, we're joined by Jason Kneen, an app developer turned AI developer who's working with AI art, AI music, AI coding, and we're really happy to have you on. Jason, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing great too. I'm excited to show off our workflows. We usually just show off demos and the things we build, but kind of showing how the tools that build the tools this week is going to be kind of fun. All right, Jason, what exciting tools you've been working with recently? I know you use all sorts of different tools for all sorts of different things. Is there anything that's on your radar recently?
I'm doing a lot of stuff with agentic stuff at the moment, agents, I've kind of got this little fascination with trying to build a little development team, but do it like a real team, so I can actually work alongside them, and we can use Slack and things like that, so they actually behave like developers and I can talk to them like developers. So I've been trying out different things. I've been trying to write my own Python proxies and Python servers and my own apps to sort of do it, and then I've been playing with things like Krea, Agent AI, Flowwise, Langflow, and all these different tools to try and work out how I can make it work and what's going to be best. And it's kind of trying to come up with a flow, a process that works like a real team. So, I have a job to do. I've got a sort of basic spec. I need it fleshed out. I need questions asked. I need to clarify, come up with the final spec. So you need that sort of creativity to start with, and then it's kind of like, we need to get on with this, put the team together, they go and work on it. But it's kind of like not trying to simulate, it's not trying to do it the way others are doing it, in the sense that they're trying to do it instantly. It comes back and you've got an app. I kind of want that to be a proper process. It can be quicker, yeah, but I want to work alongside. I still want to be involved in the process. I want to be able to see what's going on and check out the code and everything.
What do you think? Should we get into demos?
Yeah.
Ty, we'd love to see some of your workflow. Give us some hints as to how you build AI tools.
All right. Well, so I'm a developer. I spend all the time in my coding editors and doing all these kinds of things. I basically have two main tools. My two main tools are Cursor and Claude. And I know it's not the most state of the art. Yeah, everyone's using Cursor, everyone's using Claude, but it's because they're the best tools, honestly. And so I use Claude projects all the time, and I'm shocked when people don't use Claude projects because they're just so powerful. And so how I use, I have so many different projects I use for so many different things. Every project gets its own project in my Claude here. And so if I create a project, let's see here. So what I'm going to do is I have this podcast repo where I have kind of our website and some of the back-end stuff, whatever else. And so I want to give Claude as much context as I can here. So I have this really cool tool that is open source on GitHub, and it's called Code to Prompt. So if I run Code to Prompt, and then I do the name of the repo, missed a D, podcast, and then I do output.txt, run that, boom, and then I can also run this too and run the tokens. You can see how many tokens my code base is. Yeah, okay, so I got 100,000 tokens in this particular repo. But so now actually I have this file. So let's do podcast repo. And this is, I think, the most important box here. I'll be kind of quick here, but I think it's really important to spend time to get 2 or 3, maybe 4 really powerful sentences. Making sure that the commas are where you want them to be and everything else. But I'll just go repository for a landing page, and just kind of keep it simple for right now. But I'd highly recommend spending a lot of time there. But custom instructions here also kind of similar. I think this is a good place to put, general things like, always do short snippets of code and don't be overly verbose, whatever else. But the most important thing here is adding content. And so let's see here. I'll just do code base. Oh wait, this is text content. I want to add a file. Upload from device, and then on my desktop I have, it's in the repo itself. Here, there we go. Okay, so we can see what this code to prompt actually did is it gives you the path. It makes a source tree, which is really helpful for models at the top here. And then every single file in here is added with little delimiters in between. And this just makes it really easy to add context. And so pop that in there. It used a lot of the knowledge base size, but that's really all I needed to know. And I don't know what's going on behind the scenes with Claude, but you don't need to split this into a bunch of different files. It really understands it. It breaks it into it, and they're probably using some sort of just general RAG behind the scenes, but it almost feels like a fine-tuned model, like it really understands what's going on here. And so now we have project knowledge, we have this thing, and now I can ask very specific questions of my code base and even particular files, and it just handles it. It's really impressive. And you can combine this with artifacts too, so makes for a really fun experience. So that's how I use Claude projects. I use it all the time, and really fun. I'll go through a quick workflow with Cursor real quick too. And so I use Cursor all the time. If you guys aren't using Cursor rules, I highly recommend using it. So I'll just kind of show you my Cursor rules setup. You have a file at the root called Cursor rules. There's two really cool repos. One's called Awesome Cursor Rules, where there's all sorts of different cursor rules that people have made. There's another one called Cursor List that has kind of the same thing. But I'll just do a quick let's see here. If I just go here, let's try this svelte TypeScript 1, because that's what this all is. Copy the file, put it in here, and then, so now this is kind of the rules that Cursor is going to use for your code base. And I've done this thing too, where you can highlight the whole thing, and then I can actually just ask my code base.
That's crazy.
I can ask my, oh, I didn't get that right. So I do, let's see here, at code base, there we go. I say, make this rules file more relevant based on my code, which is so meta that it's going to make its own instructions here.
Yeah.
And then it'll actually do all these different queries, and then it'll actually make a better rules file. So
that's insane.
Really stitched it. So anyway, that's how I use Cursor. I mean, I could go way deeper into Composer. I love using Composer and making new little projects in there and having it build full features. I mean, there's one of the demos we did a couple weeks ago. I built this thing called Calvin, which is this little basically Google Calendar assistant. And Composer built the entire thing in 20 minutes. It built its own LLM app with a bunch of different calendar tools that logs into Google, and 20 minutes, it was done. Like, it's insane how good this thing is. So I'm just going to copy this in here and see what it looks like.
What were the instructions you gave it? Did you give it good instructions to do that?
Oh, for Composer?
Yeah. Did you give it
Yeah, so I use a thing. I did give it a good amount of detail, and I also use Super Whisper all the time, which is this. I probably can't. There's probably some other services out there, but then I kind of just talk to it. And the great thing about like talking, prompting is you can kind of like it really is chain of thought. Like I'm kind of just keep talking, I just keep rambling, and I keep rambling, and then I can take that, and sometimes I'll take that and compress it into something a little bit more clean. But if I just have I'll just talk into it and say exactly what I want, kind of what I'm thinking and some of the concerns I have, and then I'll just kind of let it run and then kind of iterate from there. So it's been really helpful. But yeah, I mean, look, it gave the right folder structure, and it used use these for reactive declarations, use proper type definitions. This is all stuff relevant to my code base, which is actually pretty crazy. So anyway, I think that's some fun stuff that people don't usually think of with Cursor. Maybe we should do a whole episode on Cursor one of these days.
Yeah, definitely. It's huge at the moment. I know there's spin-offs of it that are happening of people doing different versions. There's also one called Zed, which is fairly new, I think, by the guys that did Atom. That's pretty cool. But Cursor's great. Yeah, I love it. And that's really interesting because now my brain's going because it's like, oh, hold on a minute. Because I wonder if you could use that. If you could link that code to prompt to Git commits that you've done on projects in your file system. So in if you're like me, you've got stuff all over the place, but normally I would have had one area where all my files are. But there'll be my stuff and other projects that I've maybe forked and downloaded but haven't done anything yet. That might be quite interesting because it's almost like grabbing all of the code you've done, even the older stuff, and then kind of like almost like learning from that and running it through. So that's really cool. I'm going to check that out. Yeah, I like those.
Yeah, check out Coach Prompt. They also have multiple different like flags you can pass in there too. I think there's like a git diff mode too, where you can get git diffs and all sorts of git stuff. They have one too that's, I think it's -- files, and then it returns a gigantic JSON that has all of the files in an array and all of its types. So you can easily parse that, and then you can have just a whole array of all the files in your code base. And I mean, you can imagine where all that goes. You can loop through every file and make a more summarized version to add to a larger context window without having to put the whole code base in. There's all sorts of cool stuff you can do with that. Highly recommend it. It's also built in Rust, and so it's like, you saw how fast it was. That was a pretty big code base, and it was wicked fast. And it can also be run just as a simple binary as well, so it wouldn't be hard to like make that into a tool that a language model could use itself. It could just even ask for the context of a particular repo and just get that. So highly recommend checking out Code to Prompt. They don't get enough love.
It's crazy. I mean, you could take the code base so far, or you could take an ideal code base that you've done or worked on, and it could be like, take all the code, now go through it and almost like work out a best practice guide, and then create the beautify or the prettier rules, or the the lint rule. It's just like it's like looking at sharing your screen when you're on a video call and you have that sort of and it disappears into infinity. It's like, this is insane. You could just have it refine and refine and refine until you've got this perfect prompt. Yeah, love it. This is what I like about it. It's crazy.
Yeah. And supporting artifacts, docs, readmes. I've never even used cursor rules, but it's just, a ton in that demo to digest.
I know. I was just like, oh my god, why haven't I done that before? Because I
want to see
get it to look at the package. Look at the package file and see what you've installed and see what you use. So it's like, and is it a yarn or is it a package or is it NPM? Then that's what you're going to recommend. Don't use anything else. It's just like, oh my god.
It's actually an interesting point, because some of the files in your code base should have way more weight than the rest of them. Like the package JSON is so much more important, or a PyProject TOML is so much more important than anything else in the repo. Even like a git ignore too, so it knows what to ignore, whatever else. Like, I wonder if there's some sort of like weighting thing that's important here to make sure that the models pick the right files to use. But anyway, I could go on a tangent on this. I need to keep moving this on. So I want to see what you've been working on, Mike, and your CLI tools.
I've been big on trying to transition my workflow actually away from Cursor into NeoVim. I do use Alacritty as my terminal. It's open source, it's extendable, and it's got a couple cool features. So I've been putting together this dot files where I'm trying to consolidate all of my configuration to a single repository, which is now open source, so check it out. It's just the way I configure my workflow. One thing that I just wanted to share is the Zish RC. All I do is set my variables, set a few things in the path, but one thing I've been doing is extracting the functions and aliases. So if I go into Zish, you can see I have my aliases and functions. So just to go over aliases quickly, classic navigation, rezish just helps source it, all the Git ones. And then I've started replacing tools. So the default cat I've replaced with bat, ls is now Eza, and I also have ll just with a few flags in just to quickly list everything. Code is now Cursor. Don't use as much as I used to. And then I have my custom ones. I have my Obsidian backup, which even though I pay for Obsidian Sync, I like having a Git history associated with it. So it just backs up my Obsidian repository. I have this hooked up to a cron job that runs every day. I have my daily focus, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a different episode. LFG for my activity tracker when I'm getting started with something. And then I have a Raspberry Pi running a Llama model, and I can just SSH in there really quick with AI Pi. And then I have my AI CLI tool, where if I want to ask an AI for syntax commands, all I do is AI and then a natural language query. So that's been really cool. And then for the functions, I have my AI commit. So after I do add some files to Git, I just have AI write the commit message for me. I find it's a lot easier to just let it take care of it. It makes sure it's robust. I can add rules to make sure it follows a certain pattern. Here's the function for my AI CLI. Open interpreter, lots of commits getting pushed. So to make sure I'm working on the latest branch, I just run sync OI, and it'll actually go to GitHub, make sure my version of the repo is synced with the original version from open interpreter, and then pulls down the latest, so I'm always operating. And then a couple small things, mkcd, so it makes the directory CDs into it. Same with git clone, just things to make my life a little bit easier. But the one thing I think people might want to see is for, we'll just go back one, my Alacritty. So one cool thing with Alacritty is how customizable it is. You can make it look nice with the window. You can set the font, set the colors. But one thing I've only recently discovered, and I've been in love with it, is hints. So I've set a few things for hints, and you know what? Ties, ties thing, show don't tell. I've also said some keyboard bindings. So let's just get out of here. Now, if I list the files, I have set a hint for editing. So if I press Command E, you can see all these hints pop up. So it's just a single key press, and I've set the alphabet to be the home row, so exactly where my fingers are. And if I want to start working on, say, my Starship config, all I have to do is hit semicolon, and it opens up a new Alacritty window in NeoVim already, so I can just start going in and editing the file without having to do anything. So even though it's not a great deal of time savings, I don't have to type in nvim, name of the file, maybe get a typo. I just hit Command E and then the hint that shows. Now, this also works for Command O, which is open. You know what? Actually, before I show that, Command E is just for editable text files. If I head over to Pictures, list it, Command O, let's check out these Northern Lights photo. So it'll open up media in its own thing. So I don't have to worry about typing it open, going through Finder. I can do everything from the terminal with just a few key presses. So we got open, we have edit, and then Command C is copy. So let's take that Northern Lights one again with the semicolon. If I paste it in, you can see we have the entire file path. So if I want to copy the path, put it into a different program, pass as an argument, all of a sudden just 2 key presses copies it and then paste it in. So that keeps things nice and easy. Head back over, because the one thing I also wanted to show with open is it's not just files, you can open directories. So we'll press L, and you can see here we have my Finder window with all the files that are within this directory. Now, one thing you might see here, I know it's small, but there's a little Alacritty logo here. Now, I found when I'm navigating through Finder, I want to work in the terminal more. That's one of my goals. And the key to being able to reach your goals is make your environment as conducive for that goal as possible. So with this button, all I have to do is click it, and then I'll open up the current directory in terminal. So I don't have to go through CD or use Zoxide to get to the specific folder. I can just single click, get back in the terminal, start working as I was before. So this way I can force myself to get back to the terminal, not worry about using my mouse, try to be as keyboard centric as possible. So I actually didn't know this was possible. And I just asked Claude, I was like, hey Claude, is this even possible? And Claude walked me through how to do it, just creating a basic script, nothing too complicated. And I have the script here. And it's just a few lines of code. Nothing crazy, but it'll just simply tell Finder to open up whatever directory it's in. Now, for this, you couldn't use a script. It has to be an application. But what I learned was with Automator, you can actually just wrap a script inside an application. So it'll take your script that you make, create an application with it, and if you just drag and drop an application into your toolbar here, it'll stick it. So you can make an application that manipulates Finder, put it into Finder, and all of a sudden you just added functionality here. So just a few little examples, but I want to really encourage people that all you have to do is ask AI, is what you want to do possible? Find little bits of friction within your workflow and then automate it. Take the strengths of all the tooling you have available, make a custom instance for yourself, and then all of a sudden you can start working towards your goals in a more seamless way and have more of the mundane tasks automated to make your life a little bit better. So that's my demo. Thanks.
Well, man, that's awesome. You're really inspiring me to learn NeoVim and to play with more of these like terminal shortcuts, because I'm very much mouse and clicking around Finder and things, and it's definitely not the most speedy. Like, you just did so much in so little time, that would have taken me so long. So super cool.
And the whole equation where, I'm sure you've seen the chart, the amount of time it takes you to do a task times the frequency of the task itself should equal the amount of time you spend automating it. But now, with the assistance of Claude and Cursor, that equation changes drastically when you can, one-shot, two-shot a task to automate it. So something that would take you a couple minutes that you do a couple times a week, you can automate it now, and then you can actually make other scripts to call it to automate a larger workflow. So I'm really excited to see more people open source their scripts that just do the little things, because we don't have to make groundbreaking products in order to start saving time that accumulates over the ages to really unlock a lot of value.
That's cool.
Jason, you've been posting some awesome things to Twitter. I'd love to see some behind the scenes how you do it.
Cool. Yeah. So I'm doing coding, and I'm doing lots of stuff with Cursor and things that you guys have touched on already, and some things you I definitely haven't that you've touched on, which I'm going to be looking into. But some of the other things I've been doing is around kind of like reinvigorating my passion when I was young, probably in my teens, for graphics and music. So what I love about this is Krea have got this real-time tool. So they do enhancements and they do generation of images. But this is their real-time tool. So on the left is what I'm manipulating, and on the right is the AI that's actually now doing something with this imagery. At the moment it's kind of guessing, but I can actually describe what I want down here. So for example, let's move the AI up here, and you can start seeing it changing the image. It's getting text from somewhere crazily, I don't know why. It's pretty cool looking text, and all of a sudden we're in space. So let's keep that, and now let's do let's type in here space scene, planetary, I don't know, stars, spaceship streaks, spaceships, and there you go. The AI setting is what we're doing. We can work out the intensity. So if I take this down, you start to see on the right hand side, it will start to become more like the image on the left. Very slowly it'll get there. It's still inspired by the prompt, and then we started to get the sort of foresty scene has become the surface of a planet, and our circles and squares are back. But as we go right up, it starts to go really crazy. Now the cool thing about this is that that's just done it from that. That's already a nice background. That's a wallpaper. That's something you could cut straight away. So you can hit the download button and you just download a copy of that straight to your machine. But equally, you can start messing around. So we can start taking this. Let's get rid of the canvas background. Let's put a black background. Well, that's not as exciting. Oh, that's not too bad. That's okay. And then we can manipulate these. Obviously, it's taken a square and called it a circle because I've said planets. But you can start drawing. You can just pick up a brush and start painting stuff. And it's all, the sort of degree of change is all about this setting here. So you can either be very subtle, or you can be very detailed, or very high temperature, I suppose. I mean, the stuff you get out, this is just... And then down here we have models. So with models you can say I want cartoon mode, and it kind of goes a bit weird, but you can bring this down and it starts to give you some cool artwork. And then we can do CGI. So let's bring this down a bit, and you can start to use sort of inspiration like Pixar and stuff like that, which is quite cute. We've got photo, which tries to then do a realistic photo. Might struggle with this, but that's not too bad. It's kind of like a photo. And you've got concept art, and then you've got HD. And HD is where you can obviously take an image and it will do like a descriptive image. So if I did HD, it'll probably come up with something like this. Yep. But it will be a bit more flexible with HD, because what you can do is you can pick styles over here. And these styles, when you tap them, applies that style to the image. And then you can drag the style down here and just take off some of that. Maybe bring back a little. And if you see what happens here, it's putting the hashtag of the style. So once you've learnt that, you can just reuse that if you wanted to get to it quickly. But equally, just adding things. The thing I love about this is it's just really sort of therapeutic, because you can sort of just put letters in, put people's names in, put random characters in, and it starts to change. And then you can just do a stroke, do a circle, and you're just getting this incredible artwork that you wouldn't normally do. You wouldn't normally get. One of the other things you could do here is you could do camera, which is interesting. So let's get rid of the prompt. There you go. Now, for some reason, this is something that happens with it. It's got some weird hallucination thing that occurs where for some reason, if I think it's historical, if I don't put what I want, it starts doing spaceships or tanks, which is really weird. So what I want to do now is bring this down. But look at this, you get some cool stuff. Right, so all of a sudden now that's me. So I can say cyborg, neon, cyberpunk, web camera, web call. I mean, look at that. It's just superb. Now the problem now is that I'm moving, of course, and it's doing it as I'm moving, so I need to be quick with my click to grab that ones that I like. But that's cool. So What I can do now is I want to have this as a background. So you can do some crazy like photoshopping in this. It is just insane. So first of all, I'm going to just erase this guy, which is obviously going to give us a huge hole, and it'll be interesting to see what it decides to put in there. Very menacing. Let's have a copy of that. I like that already. So now what I'm going to do is I want to fill this in. So we pick paintbrush. I hold down my option key. I'm just going to pick that color there, and I'm just going to sort of blob. And you just sort of, it's really casual, just sort of dropping things down. And you might want to get for a lighter color up there, maybe make this a bit smaller. And it's like instant gratification, you know. You're just picking colors. Maybe we'll have a little light there, maybe a panel there, and I'll fill in that background there. Now it thinks he's got glasses because it's still remembering that it was a person. That's very cool. I'm going to save that. And let's just fill in the rest now. So let's take a bigger color, and we'll just fill in some of this and get rid of it. And hopefully in a minute, oops, did a little bit of a craziness there. It's not really done much, but we'll get there. And then I get rid of the cyborg, and that's not too bad. We'll have that. But the cool thing you can do is what I discovered the other day. So if I get rid of all this, it's always good to clean it up. It's just a lot of stuff it has to process, and then you get really crazy stuff there. So let's do a white background, and this is where it got really fun. And I'm going to do, it might come up with some stuff. Concept artwork for a Star Wars style space saga. Okay, so I'm going to do a screen share now. This is my remarkable tablet that I got, which really helps with note-taking and concentration and stuff. I mean, other tablets are available. It's not an advert. But basically, this is now showing that within this view. Now, obviously, what's happening here is that's very cool. I'm going to grab that. You do fill your drive up a lot with this thing. So now this is just like an image I can move around, but it's interactive, obviously. So what I tend to do here, this is coming up with some cool stuff, actually, is I resize it so that I just get rid of all the icons, otherwise it goes a bit doolally. And I could obviously get rid of the lines as well if I wanted to, but we'll keep them on. It seems to be ignoring them. So I can put this like this now. And then I have the tablet next to me with the little pencil, and I can start just drawing. So let's bring the strength down a bit. I'm going to do a robot and see if it works out that it's a robot. So let's do a kind of, or a sort of, some sort of bot. So we'll do a head, body. Just need to drag that down a bit. There we go. And it's funny just watching how it kind of works out. Here we go. That's quite cool. Yeah. I mean, this is, you feel like one of these cartoonists or something because all the scribbles, and it seems like you know what you're doing, but I am literally just doing scribbles, and it is doing it all for me. Oh, okay. That's yeah, it's getting a little bit freaky now. That's better. And then you know, there's color. This thing supports color, so I can put color flex on it. It's like it's e-ink paper, so it's like a bit washy, but it's sort of designed like that. But you can sort of see, you know, the sort of things you can do. You can do sort of breastplates, and it just changes so much. It's the level of AI levels that you do will, you know, will change it. So I mean, look, it's done the sort of, it's doing like it's turned the Mandalorian type armor thing into a reflection in the mask, which is just lovely. So I'm going to take that one as well. And then if I reduce down or reduce up the AI, it can tone it down a bit, start to look a bit more like the thing I was doing. It's almost going back to what I've got. And then if I take it way up, it can start to really go crazy.
Wow.
Isn't that cool?
That's wild.
And this is the kind of point where you're like doing this and you're going, hold on a second, this is fucking awesome. And then when you get it to a point where you think, okay, now I could just stop using the tablet now. It's almost like that's got me that far. And then I could just drag that across and start doing stuff with it. And it's really good at doing, if I get this to a point, let's get it to somewhere like, that's a bit too much, we don't like that. To the random thing there. Okay, that's cool. Right, so I'm going to grab that one, and then I'm going to put the tablet down. And if you've got time, I'm going to just get rid of this guy. Just drag him out of the way. I should have got that first, but it doesn't matter. I can grab it from here. And we're going to drag this guy back up to here. So it's going to put him up there, and we'll just make him a little bit bigger. And that went a bit crazy. So that's good. So now we're going to say futuristic astronaut. Okay, so we've got our astronaut, we've got our thing's a bit high, our temperature I'll call it. We'll bring that down a bit because I want to get it close to what it is at the moment. And now the really cool thing you can do is you can make a copy of this. And this is all indicative. What you're trying to do is you're not trying to reproduce exactly, you're trying to do that. That's exactly what I was just trying to do. You see how it's interpreted the one on the left as now being a side view. So I want that. I'm gonna stop right there and drag that across. Because what I'm trying to do is a side view and a front view and a back view. So now we've got something that, okay, it's not maybe the same, but there's some attributes that are the same. It looks like it could be the same suit. So let's move this over there. But now we want the back. So I'm going to cheat quickly and do a screen grab of, well, it's not really cheating, but I'm going to take a screen grab of that guy. And then I am going to drag him onto the canvas. So we'll have three next to each other. Okay, let's remove the background of that. Oh, that's the one from underneath. I can get rid of that now. That'll confuse things. We'll remove the background of him. And this is where it gets interesting now. Oh, we've got one underneath there. Let's get rid of him. Okay, got a whole load of them. Right. I'll bring this guy in so he looks... Doesn't matter he's a bit blurred. This is the beauty of this. Okay, now I want this to be side, front and back effectively. So I'm going to say futuristic astronaut, 3 full body images standing, 1 side, 2 front, 3 back. We'll see how much it does from this if I just up the temperature. So we've got to bring it up a bit. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll take this guy, I think, and we will just do some painting. So you just take that colour, and we're going to go over his back there, go over his mask to make it look like that, and we're going to take colour of the back and make it look as if it's a thing on his back. And I know this is really bad rough. There we go. And now we've got something that looks pretty correct. I mean, it's got, okay, that's on the wrong side. You can, the little thing on the top, but it's fine. We can work with that. But that's now produced something that, in theory, you could take that now and look at that. I mean, that looks great when it goes wrong and does that. Let's take a copy of that. You can take that now, and you could put that into another AI tool and make a 3D model of that, or animate that in Runway.
My favorite part of Krea is it's just so interactive. Like playing with Midjourney, like you have to just like keep pulling the lever to get what you want, And I don't like these like vending machine lottery style type of AI image stuff. This is like creative, like you said, it's like an experience.
But I've just created that from a sketch, so you can see how you could, this sort of stuff just revolutionizes everything. All those concept art books that I would buy and look at from Star Wars and Ralph McQuarrie and all those sorts of things, and it's kind of upsetting and sad in some extent, because yes, that sort of artwork is not dying, but the sort of way it was drawn is. But these are just tools, and if you've got talented artists, they can do way more than I've just done with that. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff I do with the images and artwork. I'm touching up photos with that. I've done some stuff where I've touched up a photo of a wedding from like the 1930s, and then took that into Runway and actually had the two people looking at each other, which was quite nice. It wasn't creepy at all. It actually came out quite nice. So, yeah, that's what I'm into at the moment.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Jason, loved seeing that. We're gonna have to have you back on though. There's so much more that we want you to cover. Seeing like the way you use these tools and the options out there has been amazing. Before we let you go, is there anything you'd like the viewers to know? Anything you want to plug?
Yeah, I'm on X, I'm on Twitter, or Twix as I call it. I'm posting stuff about models, AI, coding, tips, advice. I'm running some live streams with some music that I've done and some of this artwork. And if people want to subscribe, they can. There's a subscription button on my Twitter profile, and it's going to help me be able to do more of this stuff to help people understand and share the open source love with the community.
Thanks, though. Love it. All right, make sure you check it out, and we'll talk to you soon, Jason.
Thank you.
Such a cool conversation with Jason. I can't wait to have him back. He had so much more he wanted to show us, but time constraints, we had to let him go early. But because we had such a good conversation, I wanted to let everyone know that we're actually releasing 2 parts. This episode, you saw the demos, it's been awesome. But on Thursday, we're going to release the extended conversation we had with Jason. A lot of cool insights. He's a great builder. It's been awesome. So keep tuned for that. And if it's well received, we'll keep it going like that in the future. But yeah, stay tuned for Thursday. Ty, how'd you feel with the episode?
I thought it was great. Yeah, Jason's just super fun to talk to, and it seems like he's like just hacks on so many things and knows so many different tools and is playing with so much stuff that there's so much to learn from the guy. So I'm so excited to talk to him again someday. And I'm really inspired by the kind of like software stuff he's doing. Like I had a different talk with him a couple weeks ago, and he was telling me all about the different tools he uses for getting different agents to build different parts of code bases on multiple different code bases. And I liked his idea of like shared context between all of his different services too. I thought that was really cool. So yeah. Awesome guy.
Yeah, even having him joining the call and like editing or manipulating his glasses to get the proper volume, he's locked in.
He's locked in. I love it. Yeah.
Thanks for time.
Well, this is fun.
Yep, always a pleasure talking to you. We'll do this again next week.
Sounds great. See you, man.
See you, buddy.